You're standing at the edge of the Black Sea. The water stretches to the horizon, endless and glittering, beautiful and completely useless. You've been walking for 2 days, your lips are cracked, your tongue feels like a dead sponge, and that expensive Sawyer filter in your pack, the one you paid $80 for, the one that was supposed to save your life, it's worthless here. Because here's the dirty secret the survival gear industry doesn't put on the packaging. Filters cannot remove salt. They cannot remove dissolved chemicals. They cannot remove radiation. They can strain out bacteria and parasites, and sure, but dissolved substances pass right through the membrane like they're not even there. So you're surrounded by water you cannot drink. Every swallow would accelerate your death. The salt concentration in seawater is roughly 3.5%. Your kidneys can only produce urine that's about 2% salt. Do the math. To flush out the salt from 1 liter of seawater, your body would need to urinate more than 1 liter. You're not drinking water, you're borrowing it at a terrible interest rate. But here's the thing. Aristotle figured out the solution 2,000 years ago. Greek sailors knew it. Roman engineers documented it. And when World War II pilots crashed into the Pacific Ocean and bobbed in life rafts for weeks, this technique kept them alive. It's called distillation. And you're about to build a solar-powered version with a hole in the ground, a piece of plastic, and a container. Welcome to the solar still. The science is embarrassingly simple. Water evaporates, salt doesn't. Neither do heavy metals, most bacteria, or industrial contaminants. When you heat water with the sun in this case, the pure H2O molecules lift off and leave the garbage behind. They rise as vapor, hit a cooler surface, condense back into liquid, and drip down. Clean water, the same process that creates rain, that fills rivers, that has purified the planet's water supply for 4 billion years. You're just doing it in a controlled space. Here's how you build it. Find a location with maximum sun exposure. A south-facing slope if you're in the northern hemisphere. No shade. The more direct sunlight hitting your still, the more water you'll produce. This isn't optional. It's thermodynamics. Every hour of shade costs you milliliters of survival. Now dig. You want a hole roughly 3 feet across and 2 feet deep. Wider is better for solar collection. Deeper keeps the bottom cooler, which improves condensation efficiency on your plastic sheet. The shape should be bowl-like. Gradual slopes, not vertical walls. You're creating a micro greenhouse, and you want that vapor to flow smoothly. At the bottom center, place your collection container. A cup, a bottle with the top cut off, a tin can, anything that can hold liquid. This is where your clean water will accumulate. Make sure it's stable. You don't want it tipping over after 8 hours of patient evaporation. Now here's where it gets interesting. You can dramatically boost output by adding contaminated water sources to the hole. Seawater, obviously, but also muddy puddle water, urine, toxic runoff, vegetation, leaves, and grass contain moisture that will evaporate out. Spread these sources around the edges of the pit, not directly in your collection container. You're creating evaporation surface area. The more wet material in that hole, the more vapor in your system. Cover the entire hole with a sheet of clear plastic. Polyethylene works best, the kind from a tarp, a drop cloth, or a garbage bag if it's clear enough. You need something that lets sunlight through but traps vapor underneath. Seal the edges completely with dirt, rocks, or whatever is heavy. No gaps. Every wisp of vapor that escapes is water you don't drink. Now the critical step, place a small rock, just a pebble really, in the center of the plastic sheet directly above your collection container. The weight creates a downward slope, a gentle cone pointing at your cup. When water vapor condenses on the underside of the plastic, it doesn't just drip randomly, it follows gravity down that slope and falls into your container. That's it. The sun does the rest. During peak conditions, full sun, high humidity, contaminated water sources in the pit, you might produce a liter a day. More likely, you'll get between 500 and 800 mmol. That's not enough to thrive, but it's enough to survive. It's the difference between walking out of here and being found as a desiccated corpse 3 weeks later. Let's talk about why filters fail at this job, because understanding the limitation might save your life. Your typical portable filter works through mechanical filtration. Water passes through a membrane with holes small enough to block bacteria around zero point 0.2 microns and larger protozoa. Some filters include activated carbon to absorb certain chemicals and improve taste. High-end ones add hollow fiber membranes that can stop viruses. But salt dissolves at the molecular level. Sodium and chloride ions are measured in angstroms, a fraction of a nanometer. They're smaller than the water molecules themselves in practical terms. No portable filter can strain them out. You'd need reverse osmosis, which requires serious pressure and specialized membranes. You're not carrying that in your bug-out bag. Same problem with heavy metals: mercury, lead, arsenic. These dissolve into water as ions. They slip through filters like ghosts. And radiation. Radioactive isotopes contaminating water are often dissolved compounds. Your filter doesn't know the difference between clean water and cesium-137. Distillation handles all of it. The heavy metals stay in the puddle. The radioactive isotopes stay in the pit. The salt crystallizes on the ground as the water leaves. Only pure water vapor rises, condenses, and drips. This is why the technique survived from antiquity. Aristotle wrote about sailors boiling seawater, catching the steam in sponges, and squeezing out fresh water. Ancient Persian engineers built elaborate desert condensers called yakchals. During the Age of Sail, ships carried distillation apparatus for emergency water production. And when downed airmen floated in the Pacific, their survival manuals included instructions for solar stills using life raft materials. The technique endures because physics doesn't negotiate. A few optimizations can double your output. First, use multiple stills if you have the plastic. 2 small stills often outperform 1 large one because you're maximizing the edge-to-perimeter ratio for sun exposure. Second, add a drinking tube to your collection container, a length of airline tubing, or even a hollow reed. Run it under the plastic edge so you can sip without disassembling the still and releasing all that accumulated vapor. Third, if nights are cold, consider insulating around the pit with vegetation or soil. The temperature differential between the warm pit floor and the cool plastic surface drives condensation. A greater differential means more water. Here's a warning: solar stills are slow. You won't fill a canteen in 2 hours. This is an overnight operation, a multi-day strategy. Start building the moment you realize your filters can't solve your problem. Every hour of delay is water you won't have tomorrow. And another warning: if you're distilling urine, which absolutely works, don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Do not let urine splash into your collection container. The distilled output is pure, the source is not. Keep them separated. Dig a small trench for your urine on one side of the pit away from the cup. Let evaporation do its work. The survival math is brutal but honest. An average human in moderate heat needs roughly 2 liters of water per day minimum. Strenuous activity or extreme heat can push that to 4 liters. Your solar still produces maybe 1 liter per day under good conditions. This means you need multiple stills. You need to minimize exertion, and you need to start building immediately. Time is water. Water is survival. You're still standing at the edge of the Black Sea, but now you know something. That endless, undrinkable ocean isn't your enemy anymore. It's your source. The sun overhead isn't just blinding you, it's your distillation engine. And that plastic sheet buried in your pack, the one you threw in as an afterthought, is about to save your life. Dig the hole. Fill it with seawater. Stretch the plastic. Wait. By tomorrow morning, while the salt crusts white on the stones and the sea continues its useless glittering, you'll be drinking water. Clean water. Water that Aristotle would recognize. Water that kept pilots alive in life, rafts 60 feet from sharks. Water that your $80 filter could never produce. Filters work until they don't. If this breakdown of ancient survival science changed how you view the gear in your pack, please subscribe and like the channel. We are uncovering the vital history and skills that the modern world has tried to bury. Secure your future by learning the past. The next survival treasure will be uncovered soon.